When you start asking the hard questions and you start speaking up for yourself, you're going to start to see people shift. And what happens is now you become a target because you're unraveling things, you're uncovering their manipulative behaviors, and they don't want to be seen for who they truly are. So what happens is they're going to start trying to affect how people see you. But these people that they're going to try to affect how they see you, they're never really meant for you. But you got to understand that these people, if they didn't have your back in the beginning, they're not going to have your back now. There's a lot of people where I was in environments and I thought, you seem very similar to me. I think we're on the same page. And when shit went down and I was being abused and I had to call the abusers out for this, and I was in a place where I was in a corner and I was by myself, like, these people never had my back. And I don't mean financially or anything like that. I mean just as a human being decent, being moral. These people really, you got to be careful. And what I recognize too is, like, the people who I thought would rock with me, I was making excuses for them because I would see them connect to these people, and I'm like, what, do you not see that person and like what they're doing? And I used to make excuses. I'm like, that person is fooling them. And I used to, you fall right into that karmic, the twin flame dynamic. I used to fall right into that, and it got me it really got my mind thinking in the way of, like, oh, he's just a victim and she's tricking him. And the reality of the situation was, he was exactly like her. And the sooner you come to that conclusion and you realize, like, this person is not choosing me, they're choosing another person. And I had to learn where I'd put that person on a pedestal. I ignored all the red flags, and as soon as I was allowing myself to recognize that that person was just as toxic as the person they're running after, the easier it was to let them go. When you think that someone is for you and you're obsessed about them and they feel like a temptation, that is a reason to run the other way. That connection that you're feeling, that comfort, is to a pattern and not a person. And the more you pull yourself back and allow yourself to more move into the logical mind that says, this person is not meeting me halfway, they're not communicating halfway, they're not even showing interest halfway, then they're not for me. And that's when I also recognize I am an overgiver, and I am what is the word I want to say? An over assumer. I would make assumptions, and then I would add feelings to it, and that felt very comfortable for me, and that was my safe place. But that's because that was where I was as a child. I had to do that to my father. I had to assume that he was a good person when I could see that he was not. He was a Christian, or claimed to be, and he would go to church, and I felt otherwise when he was at home yelling at his family, ticking off like a time bomb in the middle of our household, setting everybody on edge. And out in public, he was the kindest, most charming individual. A little victim-y. I work so hard, and I just can't catch a break. That kind of shit, And like, why can't anyone appreciate me? And when I started recognizing this in other people, I had to go back to my childhood and find out, where did this come from? What was the root in this? And it was because this is how I had to show up in order to survive. I had to convince myself that this was my father, this was my family, in order to just be able to sanely survive in that environment. And it sounds challenging and it sounds odd because, like, there weren't bruises on me. There weren't there was enough food on the table. It wasn't in a balanced way, but it was food. It was something to put in our mouth to fill our belly. And so a lot of people would associate that with, like, that's good enough. But when that sort of element is paired up with constant neglect, isolation, ignoring, unkind comments, discouraging factors where it's like they don't want you to do well, they have no patience for you, they have no understanding, no kindness, that is your father. That is your family. And so this was hard for me to process as an adult. Can you imagine receiving this as a child, that kind of behavior? What is my little baby brain going to figure with that? How is my baby brain going to make sense of, my father does not love me? And he'll claim it to the hilltops that they love their kids, but it doesn't show in their actions. And it doesn't come through with any sort of warmth. I've never felt cherished as a child. I felt like an emotional bag that I was pulled on when he needed to be comforted, when he was feeling it. But when I needed him, he was nowhere to be found. And when I needed to communicate how he was hurting me, there was nothing but crickets. There's no conversation. There's no care. It's just when he needs some validation, when he needs something from me, that's when he comes in. And honestly, it's a painful truth. I've had to grieve this. I've already previously grieved this, but like when you just get more and more closer to that realization, it's actually a good place to be, because that's where I no longer care anymore. He's not who I thought he was. He's not the person I thought he could be. And that's, you just have to leave them where they are, and that's in the past. And so I recognize I would do this with men as well. I put them on a pedestal. I would dress them up like Prince Charming, and I would find their, little jealousy bits and their insecurities like cute. And when it started blending into the fact that now they're trying to make me jealous with other women, that was not cute. That was not kind, and that was hurting me. And that's when I recognize, when a man tries to make me jealous, I'm not receiving enough from that man. It is not that deep on his end. That means it's not that deep on my end. And so when the jealousy comes into the picture, it reminds me that I need to work on myself and build my confidence. And that is not a two-player game. That is an independent inside job. And I don't need anyone else around during that time. And that's when I went hermit mode. And if you haven't got hermit mode, then you haven't done healing. And that is my perspective, because hermit mode is where you quiet the noise from everybody else's, opinions and beliefs and bullshit. And you get a chance to just have quiet time, and you get to like pull out these things and really look at them. And that's when I start looking at religion and spirituality and how they're actually very similar in nature. And even things like energy work and things, while they are relaxing in their way, they're like a safety net, but honestly, they keep you stuck. And I realized the more I was caught up in these delusions that sound like Santa Claus for an adult, I realized like I was keeping myself stuck by believing in these things. And so it's the same sort of situation where I would put potential in other people. I had great potential, but I would never step into it. And it's because I just didn't believe in myself. And so I had to start with me. And then when I started working on myself, then it really allowed me to see if people had done it within them. And I knew the right questions to ask. And I started really knowing what to watch for instead of what to feel. And I recognized if I was feeling something, I'm not receiving something. And so I stopped tapping into that emotional sort of stream, and I started tapping into my logical clarity and be like, this person, if they wanted to be with me, they would. If they wanted to get to know me, they would put themselves out there more. It's not like I'm not a friendly person. And I know a lot of like, you watch videos or your person's just intimidated by you. No, they're not. I've been nothing but friendly. If anything, I've crossed my line, my boundary, and my comfort zone to humiliate myself in order to receive breadcrumbs and bullshit. So remember, recognize when you're doing this, when you're feeling that warm, cozy feeling, and you think that soulmate energy, it's your past that's still knocking at your door, and just in a different body. And it's testing you to see, how are you responding? Are you responding different? Because just because that person has left and another person has entered the room, that doesn't mean you've learned anything new. You have to apply it. It's the action that creates change, not the intention. Remember that. I hope this helps. Take care.